Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into the work of a psychologist who had a totally revolutionary idea about learning. He believed the real secret wasn't locked away inside our own heads, but in the connections we build with the people around us. Let's get into the world of Lev Vygotsky.
So, let's start with a question we've all faced. You know that feeling, right? You're staring at a puzzle that makes no sense or trying to master a new skill that just feels impossible. How do we get from that point of, I have no idea, to actually understanding something?
Well, Vygotsky's answer to that question was pretty radical for his time. He said the secret isn't about some kind of lone genius moment. It's about who's right there with you. For him, learning wasn't a solo journey at all. It's a team sport, one that's totally shaped by our culture and the people we interact with.
Okay, so who exactly was the guy behind this game-changing idea? Lev Vygotsky. He was a Russian psychologist back in the early 20th century, and he came forward with this pretty mind-blowing concept, that our brains are fundamentally built not from the inside out, but from the outside in.
This is the absolute core of his work, what's called the sociocultural theory. He said learning always happens in two steps. First, it happens out in the world, on a social level, between two people talking or someone showing you how to do something, and only after that do we internalize it and make that knowledge our own. It's a complete flip of how people used to think about it.
And that idea leads us straight into his most famous concept, the one that really changed education. He called it the Zone of Proximal Development. It's all about finding that absolute sweet spot for learning.
So what is the ZPD? Well, put simply, it's that perfect space for growth. It's the gap between what you can already do all by yourself and what you could do with just a little bit of help. It's the challenge you're ready for, but you can't quite conquer it alone yet.
This breaks it down perfectly. You've got three zones. First, there's the stuff you can already do, no problem. That's your comfort zone. Then, way on the other side, there's the stuff that's just too hard right now, even with help. But right in the middle, that's the ZPD. That's where real learning happens, where we're stretched just enough to actually grow.
Okay, so if the ZPD is where the magic happens, how do we cross it? Who's providing that help we need? This is where our guides, our helpers, come into the picture.
Vygotsky had a great name for this guide, the More Knowledgeable Other, or MKO. And the key thing here is that this isn't just a teacher in a classroom. An MKO could be anyone. It could be a parent, a mentor, a classmate who gets it, or even your friend who's just one step ahead of you in a video game. It's just someone who knows more than you do about that one particular thing.
And what this MKO provides is something called scaffolding. The metaphor here is just perfect. Think about it. Scaffolding on a building is a temporary support structure. It's there to help with the construction, and once the building can stand on its own, you take it away. That's exactly what this is. It might be giving a hint, providing an example, or breaking a problem down into smaller pieces. The goal is always to remove that support once the learner is ready.
So all of this social learning, this guiding and scaffolding, it all hinges on one absolutely critical tool. And for Vygotsky, that tool was language. He didn't just see it as a way to communicate. He believed it was the very thing that builds our thoughts.
He saw language developing in three fascinating stages. First, when we're toddlers, it's all social speech, just communicating our needs to others. But then something amazing happens. It starts to turn inward. This is private speech. You've definitely seen this. It's when a little kid talks to themselves out loud while they're playing or solving a puzzle. And eventually, that out loud speech goes quiet and becomes our silent inner monologue, the very voice of our thoughts.
And this is a huge deal. Before Vygotsky, people thought this kind of self-talk was just a sign of immaturity. But he said, no, that's not it at all. When you see a kid muttering to themselves while they build with blocks, they're doing incredibly important work. They're planning, they're guiding their own actions. They are literally practicing how to think.
And it wasn't just about self-talk. Vygotsky saw this incredible power in imaginative play too. Think about it. When kids are pretending to be a doctor or an astronaut or a chef, they're creating their own zone of proximal development. They're acting out roles that are way beyond their current abilities, and in doing so, they're rehearsing complex social rules and problem-solving skills in a totally safe environment.
So let's bring it all home. This theory is almost a century old. Why are we still talking about it? Why does it have such a massive impact on how we teach and learn today? Well, it's because Vygotsky completely changed the game, shifting our focus from individual achievement to the power of learning together.
To really get it, it helps to put him side by side with his famous contemporary, Jean Piaget. You see, Piaget saw a child as a little scientist, exploring and figuring out the world on their own. But Vygotsky saw a child as an apprentice, learning the ropes from their community. Even their views on language were opposite. For Piaget, thought came first, then language. For Vygotsky, language was the tool that drives our ability to think.
And once you know what to look for, you see Vygotsky's legacy everywhere in a modern classroom. Cooperative learning groups where students work together, that's Vygotsky. Peer tutoring, where one student helps another, that's Vygotsky too. So much of the collaborative, hands-on education we value today has his ideas as its backbone.
And in the end, this is the profound shift in perspective he gave us. He taught us that the true measure of learning isn't just about what someone can do all by themselves. It's about looking at their potential and understanding that our biggest leaps forward, our greatest growth, almost always happens when we're not alone but together.